What is the best source of vegetarian protein in India? In today's video, I am going to be giving you an answer, but in order to get to the answer, we're going to science the shit out of it. What's good, everybody? Number one source, paneer. Niklo, paneer. Ugh. What's good, everybody? Today's video, we're going to exclude paneer and dairy from the conversation because paneer is very difficult to make. Firstly, you need a lot of milk to create that little amount of paneer that you'll have for lunch or dinner. Secondly, paneer is a little harsh on your digestive system. It's a slow digesting protein, read casein. But in saying that, it might lead to problems like acne, like bloating, like flatulence, especially if you're someone who's lactose intolerant. And the same goes for something like whey protein. As good as it is, it's not a part of today's conversation because today's conversation is about finding the ultimate source of plant protein. Ja गाय के साथ plant protein खा. Proteins are the building blocks of life. Everyone knows that, but what most people don't understand is the term amino acid profile. Amino? BeerBiceps, it's not amino, it's amino. Amino acid profile. Basically, every protein has some kind of amino acid profile attached to it. It's like its identity, its profile. Now, protein A that you're consuming might be high in certain amino acids and protein B might be high in some other amino acids. That's what an amino acid profile is. It helps us distinguish between protein sources. So an amino acid profile basically shows us what the protein is made up of. Now, if you get a little bit deeper into the science, we break down amino acids into essential, non-essential and conditionally essential amino acids. So firstly, you've got to understand the term essential. This tag is attached to amino acids because we're talking about the food requirements of your body. Conditionally essential amino acids are only required when your body is under some form of stress. If you are suffering from a disease or if you're injured, that's when it's essential to consume some form of conditionally essential amino acid. But the real conversation here is between non-essential and essential amino acids. Essential amino acids are essential for you to consume through your food. Why? Because they're not produced internally by your body. You can only get them through an external food substance. There are 9 essential amino acids. Non-essential amino acids are produced by your body itself. You don't need to rely on external food for your body to get non-essential amino acids. It's produced by the body itself. But let's talk a little bit about essential amino acids. Now, these are the 9 essential amino acids. You don't really need to remember the names, but what you do need to remember is that to synthesize lean muscle inside your body, you've got to ingest all 9 amino acids. You don't need to ingest them in one meal, but over one day, ideally you should be consuming a good amount of all 9. These 9 will combine together to make your body an anabolic environment and help you put on a little bit of muscle. Now, you got to remember that animal protein, as everyone knows, has all 9 essential amino acids. But that doesn't mean that if you're someone who's only consuming plant protein, you can't build muscle. Now, plant proteins are deficient in some of the 9 essential amino acids. Depending on the plant protein you select, it'll be deficient in one or the other. So your job, if you're someone who's consuming plant protein, is to make sure that you're getting all 9 essential amino acids. And this is where the game gets a little bit interesting for vegetarians. Now, as a vegetarian, you've got to remember that you get protein from all these sources. Now, you can't rely on just one of these sources and expect to fulfill your entire protein requirement, especially when we're talking about the 9 essential ones. So if you're someone who buys just a pea protein supplement and if you only consume that, that's not enough for you in the long term. So what's your solution? Let's make this a little bit India specific. The number one plant protein source available in every single Indian house is dals, lentils, legumes. Now, most dals have a very similar amino acid profile, but there's one key essential amino acid that they lack. That's called methionine. And methionine is derived from brown rice based products and wheat based products. So if you're someone who wants to consume all 9 essential amino acids, ideally you should be combining your dal with some brown rice or some wheat-based product. That's what makes it a complete protein source. But you also need to remember that the other issue with consuming vegetarian proteins is that usually, yes, they're high in protein, but they also might be a little bit high in carbs and maybe even fat. Take up the case of paneer again. It's high in protein, but it's obviously high in fat if you don't take care of the milk you're using. Take up the case of something like rajma. 1 cup of boiled rajma, that's about 177 grams of rajma, has about 15 grams of protein, but it's also got 40 grams of carbohydrates. Now compare that to something as simple as white rice, a source of carbs. 1 cup of white rice, that's again about 175 to 177 grams of white rice, has about 38 grams of carbohydrate. So consuming 1 cup of rajma by itself alone is equal to consuming 1 cup of rice. If you're someone who's eating rajma chawal, yes, you're getting 15 grams of protein, but you're getting around 80 grams of carbs. So whether you're a guy or a girl, in the long term, your goal has to be to put on lean muscle. Now that can be a little bit difficult as a vegetarian because of this macro game, these extra fats and extra carbs. So what do? You want something that gives you a lot of protein without the other macros. And that's where the solution comes in. The number one solution for vegetarians is supplements. अरे body चाहिए ना, supplements तो मांगता है. Supplements. Keep in mind on BeerBiceps, we don't promote the use of supplements that much. We're not like other fitness portals that say, you need your BCAAs, you need your creatine, you need your protein shakes. We don't believe in that. What we do believe in is hitting your protein goal. That's your requirement as a human being. In Indian society, we're not educated on this protein goal concept. I've spoken about that in one of my past videos. Make sure you check it out if you want to calculate your own protein goal. But the minimum amount of protein you need just to lead a healthy life is a gram of protein per kilogram of body weight. If you're a 60 kg individual, you need about 60 grams of protein, which is a lot of protein, and you may not be able to get that through just the food sources that you're relying on. As I said earlier, if you're having that plate of rajma chawal, you'll get about 20 grams of protein. 5 from the rice, 15 from the rajma. Just 20 grams of protein, but you're also consuming 80 grams of carbohydrate with that. That's where your solution comes in as protein shakes. Now you've got two options, whey proteins and plant-derived proteins. As I said in the beginning of this video, we're not going to get into the science of whey proteins. I've covered that in other videos. And also keep in mind that whey proteins may not suit everyone. Now you'll see so many videos talking about the upside to using whey, but what people don't talk about are the downsides. And contrary to popular belief, whey protein doesn't cause kidney stones or it doesn't cause your liver to malfunction, but there are real downsides other than these. The real downsides, as I spoke about in my older video on whey protein, is that 60% of the human population is lactose intolerant. That means their bodies aren't suited to digesting milk. So a lot of people are lactose intolerant and they don't even know this. Some people will say that after consuming whey protein, they experience things like bloating or flatulence or an upset tummy or indigestion. Those are all signs of being lactose intolerant. Your body is not capable of digesting that concentrated form of dairy. Secondly, we're talking about a very common gymmer's issue, acne. Especially in India, you'll see a lot of gymmers suffering from acne. And a big reason that they may be suffering from acne is whey protein. There aren't studies that show a relation between whey protein and acne, but there are studies that show a relation between dairy and acne. And whey protein is a very concentrated form of dairy. And the third very important downside to using whey proteins in India especially is all the adulteration that happens in the Indian whey protein industry. This is something I don't even need to elaborate on. Everyone knows that India's got a massive problem when it comes to fake supplements. It's said that more than half the whey protein supplements that are sold in India are fake, and that's a huge issue because you don't even know what they're adulterating it with. They could be adulterating it with glass, with chalk powder, with other added dairy derivatives. You never know. But in today's video, we're not going to talk about dairy. Let's cut off whey proteins from the conversation and let's talk about all your other options. Even if you're someone who does eat non-veg, this is a very important food option for you. Primarily for all these reasons I spoke about. Your best option if you're cutting off whey protein in terms of supplements is plant proteins. Keep in mind there's a bunch of differently derived plant proteins. There's pea proteins, brown rice proteins, hemp proteins, and soy proteins. Now soya by itself in its unprocessed form, that's tofu, soya chunks, that's alright. It doesn't really mess with your hormonal system. Rule of life is that soy products that have gone through heavy processing are the ones that actually mess with your hormones. While soy is being processed, it's put through a very long industrial process where things like hexane are added to it. And hexane in the long term can lead to complications in your hormonal system. So this whole thing about soy products harming your hormonal system is about processed soy products. And that's why a lot of people who rely on soy-derived plant proteins are also playing the game wrong, because it's a very heavily processed soy product. So what do you do if you can't rely on whey proteins and all these other plant-derived proteins? Keep in mind, I've been running BeerBiceps for 2 years and I've wanted to make this video a long time back, but I couldn't because I didn't have a concrete solution to give my viewers. The concrete solution is that ideally you should be consuming a plant protein blend. So either you can buy multiple plant proteins and blend it together, or the better option is that you go for a good quality plant protein blend. Keep in mind, on BeerBiceps, we only associate with top quality products. A company called Olena approached me recently, and Olena manufactures this plant protein blend. Now, their protein powder contains all 9 essential amino acids, so it's fantastic for building lean muscle in the long term. But more importantly, the product is free of preservatives, artificial sweeteners, and very importantly, as a plant protein, it's free of all soy-derived proteins. That's a very crucial factor in selecting a plant protein. But also keep in mind, for all the Chetans of the world, you cannot compare plant protein to its whey protein counterparts. Whey proteins are rated based on mixability and taste and smoothness and factors like that are promoted by the bodybuilding industry. Plant protein is a completely different kind of supplement. The biggest reason you're taking it is for your skin's health, for your overall health, other than the obvious requirement of your protein goal. Something like a protein supplement should primarily be consumed because it's easy to be consumed and you can hit your protein goal very easily. Remember, on BeerBiceps, I only promote products that I would put in my body myself. I've been using this plant protein for the last month with fantastic results, not just in terms of your protein requirement needs, but also in terms of things like your skin health and your overall health. Olena is priced at about $2199 for 2 pounds, which is a very good rate for a protein supplement. Now, obviously, this supplement is going to help supplement your diet and it will help you build bigger biceps and triceps and all that. But that's not what your long-term goal should be. Remember, your long-term goal isn't about aesthetics like your chest line or your abs. Your long-term goal is to become that healthiest version of yourself. Make your human body consume what it's meant to consume. I highly recommend you try out this new product, but I also highly recommend that you keep experimenting over time. The link is in the description. Make sure you check it out. This is my pick for India's #1 plant protein. If you like today's video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to BeerBiceps. And if you want to know more about the vegetarian side of muscle building or just health in general, make sure you check out the playlist we've made especially for vegetarians. Until next time, guys, from Ranveer, I'll see you later.